What's up, everyone? I'm reading comments here. Um, okay, I haven't been on in a while, a few days. Lot going on here. Uh, so, um, yeah, so let's see. Good to see everyone. The Beato Club. You all heard about that, I'm sure. We're getting it up and rolling now. It's basically our version of Patreon. It's actually a better version of Patreon because it's not Patreon. Um, so those of you that have supported this channel, which I know many of you have through, um, I know that people actually donate to my, you know, actually donate to PayPal, but now there's more of a legitimate way to do it with through my website that actually has perks that go along with it. So those of you that are interested, um, those of you that have signed up, thank you. We'll be getting sending out some emails tomorrow, and everything should be in full swing tomorrow. So, Chris, the live Q&A thing is actually going to be a live stream that will be only broadcast to people that are part of it. That you'll be able to ask questions, and it'll be more of like a more like a live lesson that as if I'm doing a whiteboard lesson or something like that, or some type of a lesson on harmony, lesson on whatever it might be. That's what it'll be. So that'll only be people. The only people who can log in are the people that are at that whatever that one is. So that's how it works. Maurizio, you can join the club by going to my website. There's a thing that says Beato Club. It's the second thing down on the website. So anything that's so the live the what do we call them? Hidden live streams will be available to watch at any time. Oh, and what else was I going to say? Thank all of you that came to the. No, you're not losing me to the club. No, I'm still doing these, but these aren't really. These aren't like my regular live streams on the main channel. So this channel is a like more of a group discussion here. The other thing is, So any of you that came to the master class, thank you very much. That was a really great time, and I hope that I hope it's not a year before I do another one, but maybe it will be. It is group therapy, Nick. There you go. I just got my reservations today. I'm going to Germany. I mentioned this, I think, the other night, but I'm going to participate in this thing called GitCon, which is over at the Warwick plant in Germany, and what's up, Carol? Man, Carol's in LA. Yes, I'll still have the main things, theory lessons on the main. Nothing's changing with the channel. This is just extra stuff. So, nothing is changing. None of the videos are changing. So there it is. There it is. There it is. Oh yeah, so Germany. So I'm going to Germany for this GitCon in the beginning of October, and I've scheduled a couple extra days to go to Leipzig, where I'm going to do I'm going to do a Bach. I'm not sure what I'm going to do. I'm going to go to the Bach Museum. I'm going to go to all the, retrace the steps. And I'm pretty excited about that. I've actually never been to Germany at all, so I'll be spending a week there. But Schnitzel and Beato in Deutschland. There you go. Anybody that wants to bring me to any other foreign country that's for a master class, feel free to offer it up. Only especially in the winter time, if it's in the southern hemisphere. Live stream me playing the pipe organ. I'm gonna climb under the. I'm gonna sneak under the ropes. Turn it on, right? Am I familiar with Charlie Puth? I was telling this story the other day that Charlie Puth, I played for the kids in the car, and I was asking him, is this an old song or a new song? And we play this game at dinner tonight too. Old song or new song? They're pretty good at it. And then they're kind of getting smarter. They're saying, well, how new does a new song have to be? And I said, new songs in the last 5 years or so. But I played a Charlie Puth thing. I played James Taylor and first, and they said, they said old song, right? I think it was. And then I played Charlie Puth, and Dylan immediately says, new song. I said, do you know this song, Dylan? He goes, no, but I hear the robot voice. And the robot voice is the auto-tune. And we were listening to Drake, so I played Drake tonight. And Dylan said, that's there's the robot voice again. I said, do you like it? He says, oh, I don't care. Anyways, so there we go. There we go. I did a jazz guitar video that I'm sure many of you have seen. That I haven't done a jazz guitar video on the main channel in a while. And I think that some people are... I titled it... I didn't put jazz in the title so that people would... actually maybe watch it. James Taylor does have great intonation with the auto-tune. So yeah, so I did a jazz guitar video, and it's interesting to see the comments because there's obviously a lot of new people that have never seen a jazz guitar video on my channel. The people, Tom, you don't understand the people in the complaints. Oh, I'm moving too fast. There's too many cymbals. And I was like, what do you mean, like D7? Where can you use it? Where can you use it? And I said, well, let's see. It goes from D7 to G7, the first part. So if you're playing a blues in D, you could use it there. Yeah, I know, a bunch of babies. Eric, where's the pedal board video? It came out about 5 days ago. Subi, awesome, man. I don't play E flat 11. Lazy brains, exactly. What's up, Dean? You're back. There you go. I told you it wasn't gone. What'd you do? Clear your browser or something? Yeah, so it was I have to say, oh, yeah. So, yeah, Tom, somebody said, oh, you don't have to be snide. They said, I wish you could have gone slower. You could explain this in more detail. I said, well, I've got 500 other videos. and some idiot says, you don't have to be snide. I said, snide? I was serious. I've got 500 other videos, plenty of which explain this stuff. What's up, Ron? So, you saw my Bonham video. Am I going to play the drums live sometime? I'll play the drums live sometime. I think I played the drums in one video one time. Have I ever been to Atlanta State? Is that where are you talking about the baseball stadium? Where's the clip-on tuner video? Oh man, working on it. Right here. This will get. This will be in the trash bin. The soccer stadium I've not been to, Giordano. No. I don't have time to go to anything. Ligeti video. See? Ligeti video. How about a video on how to listen and understand a jazz number? Man, I get so many videos like that. What about the B3 video? No, the B3 video didn't come out good enough. I mean, I don't have a cinematographic, right? Is that the word? Standards that are that high. But that one was really too, it was definitely too lo-fi to put out on the channel. The Mercedes-Benz Stadium is a killer stadium, by the way, yes. Doc, you forwarded my Bonzo video. Awesome, there you go. Will I continue the art of soloing with jazz examples? Yes. A video on B3 players, that's a great idea. You know, I'm still trying to figure out how to get around some things. I mean, obviously, I got around the Zeppelin issue with the playing the really short clips. So that worked, but I had to test it on the channel first to make sure it worked. I was concerned about Heartbreaker with the bleed, but that didn't seem to trigger anything. But honestly, I've had videos taken down a long time after. One of my Keith Jarrett videos was taken down 3 months after I put it up. So hold on one second. This is Aaron. Hey, I'm on live. Yeah, I need to talk to you though. Are you around or not? I'll call you. Bye. I might have coughed in the video. What's my favorite jazz standard to play, Jacob? Oh, I don't know. I don't know if I have a favorite jazz standard. Somebody got bent and reported it. I'm not sure anybody would report the Keith Jarrett on the Keith Jarrett thing. It was on a video that was an hour long, and I played 10 seconds. No, that's not true. I played probably a minute of the piece that was 33 minutes into an hour and 4-minute improvisation of his. And I can't believe that it found it, honestly. I mean, it's really amazing. Really amazing. But they find everything. Let's see here. Let's see. I feel your knowledge saves people countless years of fumbling, showing your creativity. Thank you, sir. Let's see here. Rudis says, I know. I know how to hear and understand a rock blues number, but not really hearing the 251 or some smoking bebop tune. Chord changes equals group time. How about a video on song length? Current pop songs lengths versus past typical lengths. It's interesting because songs in the 60s, all the Beatles' early songs were less than 3 minutes, and then in the 70s, you started having songs that were incredibly long. Like "Stairway to Heaven" or "Do You Feel Like We Do" or "Free Bird," things that they play in the entirety on the radio, and now we're back to pretty short songs. Thank you, Doug. Bat Metheny, Giant Steps cover that's halftime. Yeah, he's always done that. Do I have a complete recording of Aiden's jazz performance? I do, Brett. Yes, I do. And I'm trying to set up the Aiden record in New York. I called Aiden. I haven't heard back from him, but we're trying to get this happening. David, you missed the band hammer, the boom hammer. Did I send in a sub? No. People have gotten banned on some of the live streams, but not many. Nobody gets banned here anymore. Nobody gets banned. Nobody gets out of line. Skip time to the next song on Spotify is 7 seconds. Is that right? That's on the free Spotify though? What's up, Ray? Good to see you. How come all the early Beatles songs sound like Bernard Purdie is on drums? I'm not sure. We'll talk about that. What makes this song great with Mahavishnu or Return to Forever? Yes. Yeah, eventually. Would Aiden and I ever consider coming to Chicago? If we were invited and people were paying, you got to fly Aiden over from Turkey. Thoughts on the Loudness wars? I'm not sure that people talk about Loudness wars anymore. That kind of is, that's something of really 10 years ago or so. I think that I'm pretty sure that YouTube introduced an algorithm probably 4 years ago or 5 years ago that essentially balanced almost everything on YouTube to be about the same level. And I think that I don't know. I don't think about it. Maybe it's because I'm not making records anymore. But I just I don't hear people talking about the Loudness war anymore. And thank God. I think it's another thing that killed rock music was the fact that there were no dynamics. When I watch you play, it looks like you use 3 notes per string fingerings for major scales. I use for major scales. Well, what would I use? 4 notes per string? 2 notes per string? I'm not sure. Let's see here. Let's see here. Okay. let's see, that's 2. And I use 5 on that string. I use 2, 3, 2, 2. I guess no. That would be 3 notes per string. But it doesn't matter. I mean, did you see when I did this? So there's 2 notes, right? 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So, so that's, you know, you just need to be able to play these things anywhere on the guitar, right? Let's see here. Why does Rick Graham turn his pick around? I didn't know Rick did that. So I don't think too positionally. Nah, not really. Thoughts on modern shredders using a hair tie to reduce noise. Never saw the old ones do that. Trolls, that's a great point. That is a great point. That's an excellent point. That would be. I'm not sure. Maybe that even could be a video. They basically do it so that when they lift their hand off, that there's no string noise, and when they're sweeping, you know, things like that. It's basically cheating. You're right, Joe. I mean, really, all the muting needs to be done with the right hand and the left hand together. Even if you're sweeping, if I'm when I'm playing, I'm always muting all the other. I'm muting with the palm of my hand all the other strings. If I'm playing one note like that, I'm strumming all the strings. Some of the strings are muted by this hand. Some of the strings are muted by my palm, and that is you know, something that you just learn to do from making records all the time. It helps for two-hand tapping. I would always when I was recording really heavy guitar sounds, I would if I wasn't playing with the bands I was working with, I would literally tape with masking tape the strings that they weren't using. I would tape them off so that they wouldn't ring. And frankly, we use a like a bandana or a hair tie on the string tree so that doesn't ring. On cheaper guitars, the string tree at the top beyond the nut would ring with really gainy sounds. So you would have to always have to listen for that. It's kind of the same thing that if you're doing rhythm parts on a guitar that has a Floyd Rose or something, you can hear the strings ring sometimes. Not running with a double body, because apparently that is behind the bridge. But yeah, that's the idea. So string tree metal guitar. You know, if you're chugging, a lot of times you'll be playing and you'll be listening and say, what is that sound? And it would be those the pickups would be picking up, because of the high gain amps would be picking up that string tree ringing out, just like yeah. Trolls, you understand we're recording, but using it all the time like Andy James. Well, Andy James doesn't play any open strings, I guess, right? Do I like the Grateful Dead? I like some of the Grateful Dead. It's funny because I used to tell people I like people that like the Grateful Dead. Some of my best friends like the Grateful Dead. Um, do I think that Jocko unknowingly created a trend in bass in his time of compromising the low end of the instrument and approach to bass? Still a fan either way. That's a good question, Nick. That's a good question. I have to think about that. Um, what about Strat tremolo strings? So yes, Strat tremolo strings do make noise. You don't notice this stuff in most of the time. It really depends on the sound that you're using, but I mean, these things, all these kind of weird anomalies come out with high gain playing. But I have to say I was pretty obsessive about that stuff. I kind of like tuning, you know. Um, Tuning is you know you gotta have your guitar in tune. Um, Name of a Hall and Oates producer who's produced many metal bands. Hmm. Of a Hall and Oates producer. Bob Rock. I don't know. Um, Rick, I know one of your peeves is tuners hanging off the headstock. You've noticed Viacutch and Guthrie do it all the time. Come on, do they? No. Ray, is that the truth? Oh man. Um, what guitar was I using during the jazz tutorial? It was my Dan Electro U2. It's called. Um, you just bend your notes in tune. Um, Jerry Garcia was a great bluegrass player. Um, English guy produced Cannibal Corpse. Um, hmm. Tell me, I want to know. Snark is putting out their own line of hair ties. Is that true? That'd be funny. What virtual strings was I using in the master class? I was using Spitfire audio strings. How is a telly ever properly intonated? Well, a good telly, Joe, doesn't. You have the separate. Um, mine. I don't. I have all separate. What do you call them? The tail pieces. They're all separate on this. The newer ones, they have this kind of bridge. See, so it has six different ones down here. So, but there are ones like that, like this. That one doesn't have it, but this guitar plays in tune really well too. So, I never even think about it really. Saddles, thank you for that word. Man, I couldn't think of the word. Saddles. That's what you meant. Compensated saddles will fix the problem. Exactly. Um, I don't know. That guitar plays in tune really well. So much of it is in the hands. I know that because I would tune people's guitars for them all the time, and they start playing, and the guitar's out of tune. I said, "Oh man, give me the guitar back." Then I play it, and it's in tune. I hand it back to them, and it's out of tune. That's when I say, "Give me the guitar. I'm going to play the part." I mean, people that just can't press down with consistent pressure, um, it used to drive me nuts. What year's that Telly? Probably 2002, maybe something like that. I've been working on West Solo for DWR. Let's see, broken into 22 parts, but halfway through your video, big help. Nice. Andy Summers not a fan of alternate tunings. Okay. Do I have a recommendation for drum heads for playing brushes? Yes, coded. Ronnie Montrose helped design that bridge, and so yes, I put it on the Beck no-caster. So I did. Okay. Interesting. Days of Wine and Roses. Yeah, Days of Wine and Roses. That's right. That's one of the best. What was your first What Makes the Sun Great? It was Blink 182, All the Small Things. It started out with a very small, small idea that turned into a big thing. Evans, hydraulic. Probably don't want that. Jari, out of tune fingers. Practice the material without thumb support from behind the neck would fix that. But out of tune fingers is really a problem. I could tune my Les Paul with 9s on it or 10s down to a C tuning and play it in tune, even with the strings flopping around, no problem. What do I think of console emulation plugins? That's the kind of questions I like right there. It's interesting. The first console emulation plugins that were really out were, some of the first ones, I guess, were. Well, here's the thing. Some of them, Stephen Slate had his own console plugin emulations, but you have channel strip emulations also. Obviously UAD has a bunch of different ones. They have the Neve 88 VR. They have the 1073 channel strip. They have the trying to think what other ones. They have the Trident A range in there. They have the Neve 1081. They have many different ones. There's many different. They're really channel strips, but there's specific console plugins that Stephen Slate had. The Abbey Road, the TG, it's actually 1, 2, 3, 5, 4, I think, right? It's not 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That is actually a no. They I guess they have that. They have the compressor, and they have the channel. Waves makes that. Here's the thing. And this is probably for a whole video, but 30 years ago, let's say 40 years ago, let's say 1978, let's say 1975. You had companies here in America like MCI, for example, that made consoles and they made tape machines. Okay. One of their tape machine models had transformers in the tape machine. And let's say you're recording through a Neve console and going into an MCI tape machine, right? You mic up a guitar. The microphone comes in through the mic pre, and it goes through a couple of transformers, right? Input and output transformers. Um, you route it through the EQ, and you get some coloration through the EQ, depending on what kind of EQ. I guess if you have a 1073. Trying to think, do they have transformers in those? Yes, they have wait, in the EQ section. Well, they have transformers in the mic pre, right? So then you go through you have to route through the board. You go through some line amps, right? You go through some more transformers. You might go out to a compressor or something. You're recording a clean guitar. Let's say you go through an LA2A. You go through some tubes. You come out of the LA2A. You go into the tape machine. You go through the transformers in there. You hit the tape, saturates the sound even more when it goes onto tape. Then it comes off the tape, back through the console, through the line amps, and through a couple more transformers, and you're on playback on a different channel, right? You have your recording side of the console and your playback side. And then you track your song and you go to mix it, and then you send it back out through, each track goes through different pieces of gear. A lot of the gear has transformers on the input and output. A lot of it has tubes. You're getting all this harmonic distortion. You're getting transformer coloration. And you're adding harmonic distortion through the EQs or whatever it is. And then you go then you mix it down to tape onto a 1/2-inch tape machine, 2-track, right? And by the time that you've gone through all this, you've gone through about, 12 transformers per sound, and you've added harmonic distortion on tape on the go down onto the multi-track, and then onto the 2-track. And you're adding it to every instrument all the time, right? And that, let's juxtapose it with today. So today, you might have one mic pre, or maybe you just plug into your Focusrite or whatever you got. And you don't go through any transformers because you are using a console plugin in Pro Tools, and you're using a compressor, or you're using UAD stuff, and you're using the console that they have in there, and you're using their plugins for compression, or you're doing the Axe effects into the board or whatever, right? A common thing that I would do when I was doing some heavy guitar records, I might take a sound, okay, and I might blend 2 amps together for one sound. Let's say I'm looking down here, okay, you see down there? Let's say I take that Marshall Jubilee and the orange under it. Both are real mid-rangey. You see those 2 amps are way down there? They're right, hold on, right there. Well, hold on. Right there. You see them? The orange and the Jubilee. It's hard to do that. So all this production talk is going over your head. Hang in there, Jacob. So you take those 2 amplifiers, you split the signal with a splitter. I've got a thing called a Little Labs distribution box. Split the signal, go into each amp. Each amp comes out and goes into a separate cabinet. And I'll have a piece of foam between them. And I've got 2 mics on each cabinet. Let's say I have a 57 and a 421. So those come back through. I route them through a summing mixer where I sum the 2 channels together. I make sure that the amps are in phase with each other, because some amps are out of phase with each other. Um, if I blended a Vox with a Marshall, a lot of times the Vox would be out of phase with the Marshall, so it would have to get switched at the distribution box because it has a phase reverse there. So those four microphones would come back and be summed to one channel, and I might route that one channel through another EQ. I may be EQing. I probably would be EQing each of the mics, okay? Or I'd blend the sounds and I'd EQ them by the balance of the microphones. I would typically put the 57 where the dust cover meets the speaker, and I put the 421 in between on a different speaker because it has better phase relationship when you use two different speakers in the same cabinet. They're further apart, the 3-to-1 rule. And I would put that one in between the edge of the cone and the center, the dust cap. So that would get your low, it'd give you your low end and your meat to the sound, and the 57 would provide the kind of upper mids and the bite. Okay. Depending on how I wanted each of those sounds to sound, I would blend the two mics using different amounts of them. If I wanted more bite, I just put the 57 up higher, 421 lower. And I might EQ those together, or I might blend in a second amp at the same time with the same performance live. And then bring it back through, sum them, and go through another EQ where I can actually have a little bit more. And maybe I'll go through a more transparent EQ, something like a Electrodyne, okay, old school Electrodyne EQ. Add a little, maybe add a little 3K for some more bite, add some top end, whatever it might be, right? And that might be one sound. So having this really complex chain of sound goes a long way to emulate if I'm not recording on the tape. Now, sometimes I'll just record one amp and I'll track the tape because I have a tape machine, okay? So there's nothing like getting tape saturation like actually recording onto a 24 track or a 16 track or an 8 track or whatever you have. So the complexity of sound is very, very important in music, in adding coloration and I think depth to your sound. How would I set up a 57 421 on a smaller amp with one speaker? I would do the same thing. I put them next to each other. You can't see the tape depth, Chris. It's in the other room, and I can't move the computer as I'm talking here. Question, for people in the box, should we be using our virtual gear to color on the way in? Yes, I guess, but this is why you invest in actually good tracking gear. If you're going to spend money, you should buy a nice mic pre or a nice pair of mic pre's, as expensive as you can afford. Okay, I wouldn't just buy a mic pre. I would buy a mic pre with I would buy a mic pre with something like a Neve, as high end as you can buy, because the mic pre without the EQ is there's not that much difference. If you listen to a lot of these mic pre's with iron transformers like Neve used, any of the Neve copies, Neve style mic pre's that I have, 500 series, whatever, they all have kind of a bump in the low mid range. they don't sound that different from each other. They're not worth spending the money on if you're not going to get the channel strip. The EQ is extremely important to it, and I would spend that money to do that. I would also spend the money to buy a nice compressor. I would buy a compressor, something, you don't have to buy a Fairchild compressor, Chris. You can buy a distressor, something like that, or an 1176 or an LA2A. You need to have a compressor to. You need to have a compressor, I think, before you go into your. Before you go into your before you go into the box, into your converter. Neve transformers in the new. See the transformers, the Carnhill transformers. It's not just the transformers; it's the circuit. It's the EQ that goes with it. That's really the. That is really a. That's really important. It is. It is. I wouldn't tell people to buy stuff like that if I didn't think it's expensive. I like the BAE mic pre's if you can't afford a Neve. The BAEs are Neves. They're identical. They're amazing. They're 1170. Or I'm sorry. They're a 1073. They're 1066. They're 1084. They have a 1028 and a 1032, and they're all amazing. They all have different. The mid range is different, the points, but the preamp sections are the same. Topic. Am I an MMA fan? The former UFC fighter Brendan Schaub. No, I don't know him. He has a podcast, Below the Belt. He goes on Joe Rogan a lot. He mentioned your channel and tool video with his producer last week. When was that, Luke? I want to see that. That's awesome. You like the Fairchild compressor? Well, you can buy one if you got the money. The new 1073 emulation, 2 channels, warmed 73. I haven't heard those. I saw them actually at the NAMM show, but I haven't heard them. Don't own any of the gear, as a matter of fact. You know what, Brett? I love the Avalon 737s. They were used a lot when they came out. A lot of R&B producers used them, but I had two Avalon 737s when I first started producing, and the EQ on it, the mic pre is excellent, and the EQ is incredibly good, the parametric EQ. The compressor on it, it's an optical compressor. It's incredibly slow, and it's not useful, except it does slow down the transients, but you need to put something behind it that can grab them, like an 1176 or a distressor, something that will grab the transients that's fast, that you put a fast attack on. So I would slow down the transients with the 737, and then I put like a distressor, for example, on a 6-to-1 ratio, right, and set it with a fast attack, but just so that it would grab the peaks. If it was an acoustic guitar or somebody hitting a bass really hard, and it would grab those. Peter asks, tape recorder, do I own maintenance, alive biasing, etc.? So yeah, we maintenance it. We do the maintenance ourselves, and we do the alignment ourselves. My friend Donald actually does. When we needed a line, he'll come over and do it. But you could do a video on outboard gear to consider. Slow and fast on attack. Legends asks. The optical compressors are typically, something like an LA2A is an optical compressor, or the 737, the Avalon. And the Avalon happens to have a very slow attack. Things like 1176 have very fast attacks, or a DBX 160 VU has an extremely fast attack. And you know that the sign of a fast attack is that you'll hear the transient snap. If I put a DBX 160 on a kick drum and set it to where it's really grabbing the transient, it'll snap. I mean, it really smacks it hard. So yeah, so that's all of your things. My buddy Dave is supposed to come over for a video tomorrow. He was texting me. A lot of choices in compressors, though, obviously. A lot of choices in EQs and mic pre's. A mic pre that I've never owned, but I've used, that I love, is a Trident A-Range. Trident A-Range consoles were excellent. Really great consoles. And their EQs on them are incredibly cool. They make a Trident A-Range 500 series that I've never tried. But that is those are great mic pre's. But I like mic pre's with EQs. As far as compressors, everything that I would buy, I would buy for its color. I don't want things that were transparent. There's no point in having something that's transparent, I always thought. Yes, I've owned my own console. Yes, I don't have one now, though. Have I tried the Trident plugin? Yes, I've tried the Trident plugin. There's one that Softtube makes that they put out through Universal Audio, or UAD, as well. It's pretty good. It is pretty good. What did Tom Schultz record the first Boston record on? I'm not sure what kind of console. If I had to guess, probably an MCI, something like that. What do I think of the Recording Revolution channel? I don't know it at all. I don't know what to think of it. I've never seen it. Any recommendations, mics for beginners? There's companies that make decent condenser mics. It depends on what your budget is, I'd say you buy a brand new SM7, a Shure large diaphragm dynamic mic. Or, Shure makes the KMS 32, which is just it's a condenser mic that only has a cardioid pattern. They have the KSM 44, which has multiple patterns: figure 8, cardioid and hypercardioid, or omni and cardioid. Plugins are good in betweens. Yes, I guess that's it. If I was producing now, would I ever want a console? If I was producing things that had big budgets that were incredibly great artists, yes. But producing new acts where it's all micro mixing, nah, it's not worth it anymore. Most people don't have consoles anymore. They just don't. They track through mic pre's and they mix in the box. A guy at the Recording Revolution preaches you can get great results with simple interface and stock plugins. Well, if he can get great results, good for him. Do I share that opinion? I share the opinion that, there's a reason that Neves cost $4,000 for a mic pre because they make stuff sound better than it really sounds. I mean, it may sound good enough to him, but I don't know. Does he have any platinum records? Maybe he does. I don't think so, though. I don't even know who it is. Sure, DMK 5752 drum kit. I mean, it might be a woman for all I know. I don't know. I mean, is it a? I don't know who the person is, so I shouldn't say. DMK 5752 drum pack kit is a good deal for drums. Are you stating a fact, William? I don't know what's in that. I don't know if it's a good thing for drums. I see having one or two nice signal chain for outboard gear, but for recording a drum set, you got to have mic pre's for all those drums. You can't go wrong with Shure. Yeah, I mean, most of the Shure stuff is good. You know, the small diaphragm condensers, the KSM 141s. Those are good mics, but there's there's a lot of vintage microphones that are very good, that are not expensive. They're less than those that you can buy that work great. 3 pre's for the Bonham sound. Well, they were probably using, I think that they were using Helios consoles back then. It's interesting. I had a Helios mic pre that I bought when they first came out. The 69 series, it's called, that has a really interesting EQ on it. And I got it because of Zeppelin. And they had a compressor called the 760 compressor that is the compressor that they used for the when the levee breaks sound. Okay? But I had really bad luck with the Helios mic pre that I got. Now, this is a long time ago when they first came out, but the guy had a terrible batch of mic pre's. Every one of them, I got sent 4 of them, and every one of them had a problem. They had some type of an issue with their phantom power that did not work. I mean, and this is not fair to say because this is back in 2005 or so. But I don't know if the company's still in business, but the Helios compressors, those are great compressors if you can find them. One of the only places I know that had a 760 compressor, a pair of them, was at Blackbird up in Nashville. 3 pre's for the Bonham sound. Yeah, so there you go. Would I do a test comparing high-end pre with a simple interface and the same signal? Yeah, that'd be a great video. I will do that. Let's see here. On a 12-track Scully tape machine. The thing with Tom Schultz, that we were talking about the console that he was using. The thing about him is that he could build anything or modify anything. His Rick Rubin overrated. That's not for me to say. Compared to who? So yes, that's a lot of stuff to you haven't found anything about recording console. So much of this conversation has gone over your head, but you're thankful for being recorded. You go back someday when you can utilize. I'll tell you a little story. I'll tell a story here. You guys ready for a story? It'll be a short one. I kind of told it before, but not in this way. In 1995, when I first moved here, one of my roommates, Rich, had a booking agency. It's one of my best friends, still, really good friend. And he had a guy call him from A&M Records, and he said, I need to find a guy that can sub on bass for a couple gigs for this band that we signed. And he's like, oh, I got the guy. One of my roommates can play. And so Rich comes. He goes, I got you a gig for 3 days. And I said, okay, what's the deal? You're playing bass. And I said, with who? He says, some band that's on A&M that one of his buddies signed called Orbit. I was like, okay. And he says, he's going to mail some CDs, demos. So they mailed them. They came a couple days later. Mail. I mean, now you don't even. There was no internet, right? There was no way to just send over an MP3. What do they sound like? So I get the thing. I listen to the demos, and they were great. Really liked the songs. And the drummer was a guy that was he worked for a big radio station in Boston, the big alternative station. He's a great drummer. So they fly me up to Detroit to rehearse. They're making the record with Ben Gross. Ben Gross had just had a big hit. He was a rock producer. Just had a big hit with the Filter Short Bus record that had Hey Man, Nice Shot on it. He was a very hot producer and mixer and engineer. So I went to his studio. And I didn't know anything about gear, right? I told this in one of my videos, I think, but he says, we're hanging out, and I'm walking around the place, and he's got all these mics on. He's got 3 mics on all the cabinets. He's got all the, top and bottom mics on the toms, all this stuff, really complex stuff. And I never saw that many microphones. And he had a big SSL console, and he had tons of outboard gear with Neves. I mean, $1 million in gear. It was just a cement brick building, right? With no windows, really weird, black, all painted black. But he had these curtains hanging down. It was really, really moody, but it was nighttime all day and night. So I go in there, they have the stuff mic'd up, and I rehearse with the band. It's just a 3-piece, and we're playing. And so we're hanging out with Ben later, and so I start asking him. He's walking around looking at stuff, making sure we didn't move any of the, make sure that we didn't move anything. And I said, what are all those mics on the drums? I said, how do you decide what to put on them? Oh, I just kind of have done this trial and error over the years. And I said, I don't even know what any of these mics are. What mics do you put on a snare? He goes, oh, well, I use that's a Shure SM57. You must know what that is. I said, yeah, I recognize that. But so what's that mic next to it? He said, that's a AKG 451 condenser, small diaphragm condenser. Now, I didn't know this. I wasn't remembering at the time. But so I said, what do you got on the toms there? He said, well, on the top of the toms, I've got a AKG 414. And on the bottom, I have a Sennheiser 421. Once again, I know this now and I'm recalling it, right? But I said, do you mind if I write this down? He's like, no. So I had a notebook with me because with just the thing with note cards. Because I was taking notes on the songs, and it was right next to my amp. So I pick it up with my pencil and I start writing down. And I drew a quick diagram of the mics, and I said, I went through each thing. I drew how he had the overhead set. I asked him what mics those were. I asked him the kick drum mics, the snare bottom mic, everything. And then we went to the guitars, and he had 3 mics on. He had 2 mics on one speaker, 1 mic on another speaker. And he said, but they were all 57s. And he says, I said, how do you decide how to angle those? I mean, I was so dumb. I didn't know anything. But I drew pictures and I wrote things down. I wrote down what he said. Fast forward and Ben is known for being incredibly secretive, but I was so dumb. Yes, Subi. He was super secret. I was so dumb that he figured, well, this guy's never going to do anything with this, so I'll just tell him what I'm using. And years later, he was recording at Tree Sound. He was working on the first Alter Bridge record produced. No. He was producing Seven Dust, I want to say. Yeah, he was producing Seven Dust. Their best record too, best sounding record, great record. What record was it? It was around 2001, whatever record that was. Any of you Seven Dust fans out there? Love that record. So he was working on Seven Dust. Anyway, so he went in during the day and he set up the mics, and my assistant went in, and at night, he wasn't supposed to do this, could have gotten fired. He filmed everything with a video camera, all the mic setups. And we were working a different studio, or we were in the other studio, the B studio. He brings it in, he's showing it to me. I open up my notebook, and I see, and I was like, yep. What's he using in the bass? Yep. Oh man, he's using the same stuff. And that when I went to set up, when I learned, it was Animosity. That's what it was, Animosity. Yep. That's their best sounding record. Killer record. Actually, I haven't heard the new record. I've been friends with Clint, the guitar player, for years. He's going to be on one of the, I asked him if he wanted to be on What Makes This Song Great, actually, to come in on, if I'm doing one on Van Halen or some band that he's a fan of. Although I could do a Seven Dust song too. So, anyways, when I first went to mic up a drum set, that's what I did. I just opened my book and I copied what he did. I got an amazing drum sound. Amazing drum sound right off the bat. So there you go. That was my story. I asked questions, and that's how I learned. Neil Schoen sounding off. Oh, that'd be amazing. Does a musician ever retire? Oh, David, I've been talking about that a lot. I've been talking about that a lot with people. Do jazz players ever retire? I've been talking to a bunch of my friends. Depends on how much money they have. Okay, I'm tired now. This has been great, though. I wanted to come on, and I know I haven't been here in a while. Sonny Rollins retired recently, so yes, people do retire. Is there a good good way to mic the snare without it getting in the way? You know what? Sometimes you need to move the guy's gear or the person's gear out of the way to get the snare in there. We have to do that a lot because sometimes there's no room. Drummers set up really weirdly. You guys are the best. We'll talk. Thank you.